Reina Barboza, the Soul Rebel, was originally diagnosed with a malignant melanoma back in August 2010. She had surgery to remove the tumor in her left thigh and was sent for a trial run to MD Anderson, which is a cancer center at the University of Texas. She was claimed cancer-free. Then fast forward 8 years. Reina was rushed to the hospital for what was thought to be a ruptured appendix, only to find out with a CT scan that her liver, lungs, and abdomen were full of tumors. She was told by the ER doctor to find God and was admitted into the hospital. It was a complete shock to herself and to her loved ones. After a 4-day hospital stay, she was released and given a full body PET scan. She lit up like a light bulb. The cancer was in her lungs, bones, liver, and abdomen. Needless to say, their lives changed instantly. This is her story. Welcome, Reina.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me so much.
Thank you for being on the show and sharing your story with us, Reina.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you basically kind of introduced me perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, so cancer.
So in 2010, can you kind of give us a backstory on that? Were you just going in? Did you notice something? You went in to see the doctor, had it removed. Did you treat at that time with any cannabis?
Okay. For sure. At the time, I was working for a chiropractor, and he and another one of my coworkers she was in nursing school. They'd noticed a mole that was on my thigh, on my left thigh, and they would always tell me, Reina, that's really dark. It doesn't look right. The chiropractor and my friend, they would both tell me that. And I was like, whatever, guys, whatever. And it would kind of scab up, and it wasn't round. It was very odd shaped, and it just wasn't normal. And I told my PCP, I went in one day and saw my PCP, like just normal every 6-month visit for medications I was on. And she goes, all right, let me go ahead and just biopsy that. Let me just, she basically did a pin punch, and within 2 days I got a call back, and I was told that it was cancer. It was actual melanoma. And at that moment, I didn't really know what to say or what to think. She told me at that point they would send me to an oncologist. At that point, I did go to an oncologist. The oncologist at that point set me up for surgery. After surgery, because of my age and because of the circumstances around why I had that mole, they wanted to find out more. So they sent me to Houston, MD Anderson, which is the most amazing place ever. And got there, and I was educated a lot on what melanoma was. At that time, it was not malignant melanoma, meaning it wasn't spreading. Right. It was in that area only. They took lymph nodes from my groin to check them. At that point, I had 2 come back positive, and the rest were negative, but it was just in the lymph nodes, so those were removed as well. And that was in August of 2010.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's whenever you were deemed cancer-free at the end of that? I mean, what?
I was told after the surgery that all the cancer had been cut out, everything, because I had it's like called a wide incision. It goes 2 inches wide and 2 inches deep. So it looks like I have like a shark bite on my thigh. And so at that point, after that was said and done, the surgery was done. I had the stitches put in, staples. I still have stitches that come out to this day. They're still under the skin, and because of which I'll explain later about immunotherapy, about it pushing things out of my melanin and out of my skin. I've got these plastic stitches that are still in my thigh, and you can see them poking out. It's just crazy. It's just really crazy. But at that point, they told me that I need to get I needed to be checked every 6 months for a year, for 2 times a year, and then after that we go yearly. After 5 years, if they didn't catch anything, I was cancer free, and that's what I was told every single time that I went.
Up until 2015, is that the math?
I would say yes. I would say yes. And at that point, I was going to a dermatologist that really didn't do much of anything when it came to body scans and things like that. It was just pretty much looking at, but I understand now, they were just looking for new moles. They didn't understand, that none of us understood.
Sure.
That this entire time. It wasn't never gone. It lay dormant in my body the entire time until 2018.
Okay. So it was there the whole time, and they were just looking in the wrong places, looking for the wrong things. Sure.
Yes. They were looking for moles, but that's what they knew to look for, because that's how they found. Originally that's how they found out that I had cancer.
And that's what the
skin
problem
cancer
was, right? Or what they thought the problem was.
Yep, that's what they thought the problem was. So I was one of the dermatologists they were looking at my skin, not seeing new growth. They didn't worry about anything. Fast forward 8 years, and I am doing everything I can to open a cannabis business, because I truly believe in it. Because after 2010, I started driving to Colorado to get Mary's Medicinals. I liked the patches. They were helping me. It helped me quite a bit, because the trial that I did at the time at MD Anderson, it gave me some pretty bad side effects. I was getting migraine headaches, constant hormonal outbreaks. It was really just very, how would you say the word? It did more harm than it did good. But for the sake of science, though, I did it.
Well, the sake of trying to stay alive.
True, very true.
Well, yeah, and so essentially you were using cannabis to battle those bad side effects, is what you're saying.
Listen, the entire 8 years that we thought cancer was gone, I was using cannabis. And it wasn't just smoking. I always ate cannabis. I continuously ate RSO. I continuously ate edibles. I continuously took tinctures. I continuously did what I knew to do.
So did you medicate with RSO back as far as 2010?
Not 2010. I started with RSO back in 2016.
Okay.
That's when I was introduced to it. I was introduced to it, but it was not what I was introduced to back when I got diagnosed again in 2018.
How were you introduced to it?
I was introduced to it originally just by someone speaking about it, talking about it, overhearing them say things about it. But what I got, I don't know if you've seen, what is the name of that show on Netflix? It's really, really sad. What's the name of it? For the love of goodness.
Was there a show that you saw on Netflix that kind of research that you were doing?
It's about cannabis and them looking for basically RSO for their children.
Weed the People.
And they're overseas. What was it?
Weed the People. It's a Ricky Lake.
Yes, that's the one right there. Yes. So I basically was taking an oil that was done that was not RSO. I was tricked. I was fooled. I was fooled and not taking real RSO. So, yeah, in 2016, I was given some stuff that was supposed to be medicine to help me, and it turned out to be not that at all. It was not Rick Simpson oil. It wasn't the full plant. It wasn't any of that. Yeah. So what I did is I found out in 2008, literally the day that I found out, when I was rushed to the ER and went to the hospital, I had a friend at the time. He called me. Actually, I called him because he asked me for something at the time, and I'll tell you the reason that I kind of just let my health go. I was opening a dispensary, and at the time, I was literally opening it by myself because my husband was working at the time, and he was doing refinery work, and I was moving all the shelving, moving things around, setting things up, getting the safe in place,
just
setting
running
things
yourself
up on my own, and not worrying about my own health because, wear and tear, right? You move this, your arm hurts. You move that, your hip hurts. All of a sudden, my back started hurting. I was like, it's okay. I'll fix it later. Mm-hmm. 4 days into opening the store, I went into the restroom, and that's when I urinated blood, and I didn't have a choice that time. I was like, okay, something's got to give. So I did. I got up, and I drove myself to urgent care. Urgent care said, sorry, we can't see you. We think you have a ruptured appendix. And so I drove myself to the ER. And my daughter was with me, and she at the time was 18. She had just started OU. She was a freshman at OU, and she was in the room with me when the doctor came in and told me I needed to find God, but she didn't tell her in front of my daughter. She asked my daughter to step out of the room.
Thank goodness.
And immediately we knew something was wrong.
Wow.
That's a pretty powerful statement for someone of that stature to come into a room and tell you to do that.
Literally.
First of all, I have to say something about that myself personally. I do not agree with that. Please stop doing that, medical officials. That's very scary to people. And I know that you understand what it's like to be around people that are facing death. And to suggest that is a very powerful statement. And I'm sorry, but please stop.
Right. And I guess I'm going out on a limb a little bit here, Reina. So was part of your passion and open up the dispensary was to help
very much so
save other people the troubles of having to get bad medicine and unregulated medicine.
1,000%.
I love
1,000%. The minute that we found out that the bill had passed, all of our life savings had went into the business.
Sure.
I mean, we are a true mom and pop shop. True mom and pop. I had no investors, nothing in our business.
Good for you.
I love it. And so, I mean, essentially, you put your health on the back burner for...
Yes, I did.
For the health of others that you didn't even know.
Yes, I did. But and it's funny because I say it's funny because I look back on it now. I can say it's funny. I'm alive, and I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for every day that I wake up and I'm alive because I could not be, and I have nothing to complain about. I have nothing but good things to say. Can I complain? Anyone can complain.
Yeah, I was going to say you do have things to complain about. But
I could, but I don't take those things for granted. I could not have those things, and I could not be here now. So everything I think just works itself, the way that it's supposed to work out. It does what it's supposed to do. Life, the universe works itself out. And yeah, I did. I put my own health on the back burner, and it was funny because I bought a sling for my arm because I thought that I yanked my rotator cuff, my left rotator cuff out of my arm. Mm-hmm. And I went and bought a sling because I was still having to move stuff, and I was trying to get it open by a certain day when dispensaries could open. We were one of the first ones open. So I did everything that I could, and I pushed for it. And come to find out, the reason that my shoulder was that messed up was it was full of cancer. My hip was full of cancer. The shoulder was full of cancer. The femur, I have a hole the size of a golf ball in my femur. The cancer ate right through it. Just deteriorated it.
Let me ask you this, as far as mobility and all that, I haven't met you personally. How has that been affected?
Well, when I was diagnosed in November 2018, and they put me in the hospital, my friend came up with the RSO, and he gave that to me at that moment. It's so crazy how it happened. He literally, I called him and he said, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm at St. John," and I told him what room I was in, and he's like, "I'm on my way. I just have something, and it just worked out this way." And he came and he brought me 4 syringes. And then I looked at it and I was like, "What are you doing?" I am not doing that. In my head, I'm thinking, what did you just bring me? And he's like, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. He's like, "It's Rick Simpson oil." And I said, "Is this the real stuff?" He goes, "Rain, I wouldn't lie to you. I just got this from a friend." So I get it, and we do the rice. We do the grain of rice 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. And then we up it the second week, 2 grains of rice a day, 3 times a day. And the third week, we up it.
Do you get to the
so when I
gram?
I upped it up till I was up to an ounce. I'm sorry, not an ounce, a gram. And then 2 grams a day. I mean, that's how far it came. It's more of a preventative to me now than it is of anything.
So you do a maintenance dose now?
Yes, I do take a maintenance dose. I do take a maintenance dose on a daily basis, and tincture as well.
Just for our audience that is curious about this, I mean, because this is very important for people to understand. For the regimen that you went through, you said that you got up to 2 grams a day.
Yes.
Now, you were obviously doing something at night and then something in the morning, or were you spacing that out through the day? How were you doing that?
I was taking, what I do is I would take it and I get vegan capsules, clear vegan capsules, and I would take the syringe and I would squeeze it into the capsule. And I would go throughout the day doing that with food on my stomach, because without food on your stomach, it tears your stomach up. It does. Mm-hmm. So I would have to take it with food. And it would make me hungry, make me eat, because I was not hungry. I didn't want to eat. Whenever I was diagnosed, I literally went downhill. It's kind of like, when they tell you something, you believe it. And I mean, you could see I was already going down because my body was breaking down. And pain in my mind, and I say this because when we do meet, you'll see I have tattoos, piercings, all types of things, and you would say, oh, Anita wouldn't hurt her, and it doesn't, because to me, pain it's mental. I think that you can control it sometimes, and I now, because I've actually felt pain that I could not control. Right. Most pain I could. And then this was a pain that I could not control.
Right. And coming from a mother, I mean, it's a lot of pain.
It literally, I mean, we had to go to the hospital several times in the middle of the night between November and December of 2018. So I was actually put on a treatment. My oncologist at the time, amazing oncologist. He's went back to Seattle, Washington, because they have private funding for alternative medicines there.
Right.
So that's what he is up there studying now. He and his wife are both doing that, and I'm so proud of them. And I'm glad they got out of Oklahoma, because Oklahoma is like, no, anytime you go to the doctor and they find out you have an OMA card, anything that's wrong with you, it has to do with you're smoking marijuana or you're consuming marijuana. It's like, you know what? Do your research.
Right.
Don't.
I had a friend that came in the dispensary just the other day and did the exact same thing. Hadn't seen a doctor in 4 years, and the minute he said that he had his MMJ card, that was the reason for all of his problems.
Everything. I mean, literally, you could stub your toe. It's because you were smoking marijuana. Like, seriously, come on now. It's not. No, and they use it as that's the reason why they won't do a lot.
And so with that being said, was your doctor aware in 2018 of your RSO regimen?
Yes, he was. I told him the day that he found me, the fourth day that I was there, because they put me in St. John, put me on a post-op floor, post-operation, as though I had had some type of surgery,
right, on
a morphine drip to just die. That was their solution for me.
Fine God.
Let's just put her on a post-op floor with a morphine, and she can push it every 9 minutes. So it was either 9 or 11 minutes, and I would get my fix to take the pain away. But I was like, I'm not in pain. Like, I mean, it hurts, but I don't need morphine. And that's where they left me. When he found me on the fourth day, he was very angry, went down and told the administration, told the ERs. He found the doctor who actually told me that I needed to find God, and had words with her. He was very irate, very angry, and he just didn't stand for it. And I, to this day, owe so much to that man.
Absolutely.
I truly miss him.
Some of these
and reached out to him just here recently, and he's the reason why I've been going back and forth to MD Anderson.
Some of these people just really don't understand the power that they hold whenever they have scrubs on.
Exactly. It's the truth. That's the honest to God truth. That's the honest to God truth.
And I'm not scared. I'm not saying that I'm scared, but I'm talking about my grandma or my kid or somebody. I mean, that to them, you are the final word. Okay? So please.
Well, and I love that I love that, and we've talked about it on this show before about taking your own health into your hands, and I love that you did that. And I love so many people today seem to have this white coat faith, and it goes back to seeing a person in scrubs, and I don't need a second opinion. This person must have it all figured out, and that we're all trying to do our jobs well, and that includes doctors.
And here, let me also say this. I am very happy that there are those doctors out there that will correct those that are in the wrong, or that have that wrong opinion or non-open-mindedness about certain things. I applaud those doctors, and thank you for at least opening your mind and being curious enough to become educated.
Yes, thank you to people like Dr. Barman, for sure.
1,000%. I owe Dr. Barman so much. He really is definitely an open-minded man, and he whenever I told him that I was on the RSO regimen, he said, just continue to do what you're doing. Don't stop.
I love it.
Don't stop what you're doing. Just don't stop it. And when I started we did the PET scan, and right after that, he said, Reina, I can't wait for your BRAFs to come back. I had to put you on something now. And I refused chemo. And he told me I wouldn't do that to you. I said, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, so this is what we're going to have to do. And he says, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's going to get way worse before it gets better. And I said, what do you mean way worse? I've already lost almost 26 pounds. And I was not doing well at all. At that point, I had lost so much weight that my legs, I'd gotten so weak. I wasn't walking. I was
Muscle
in a wheelchair.
mass was gone.
I had lost so much. I mean, I literally went down. When I found out, I went down. And I wasn't eating. And he said he put me on, it was an Opdivo and Yervoy. And you take 4 rounds of that for every 2 weeks for 2 months. Over a 2-month period, you take 4 treatments. If you can handle those 4 treatments, then you're good. Then basically that means that you qualify to get on the immunotherapy, the Opdivo medication. That's what you get to do, immunotherapy versus chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. And I, by the grace of God, made it through those 4 treatments, because those 4 treatments did almost kill me. I don't remember a lot of anything.
Yeah.
I remember begging for the Dilaudid that I was on. I was on 4 milligrams, 24 4 milligram Dilaudid a day. And 150 milligram, what was that? Patch. What's the name of that damn drug? The really, really bad one. I can't think of it. It's slipped my mind. The patches that they make for you. I can't think of it. It's what is the name of it?
Are you talking about like fentanyl or?
Yes, it's fentanyl.
Okay.
The fentanyl patches
Sure.
that they had on me. And I was out of it, completely out of it. I don't remember a lot of the things that I said, a lot of the things that I did. I was very angry. I was mean to everyone around me. Thank God my family was there, because I was not myself.
Understandably so. So basically, for that trial,
completely all over me.
For that trial run, are they basically just trying to test your body to see if you can handle the immunotherapy?
What he did, actually, what he did with Yervoy and Opdivo. That wasn't a trial. That was treatment. That was to see if I would make it or not make it, because that was either going to make me or break me.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was told. I was said, if I can make this, if you can make it through these 4 treatments, you're going to make it. And the way Dr. Barman spoke to me, he never sugarcoated anything. He was a straight shooter, and I love that about him.
Yeah, that is.
And so I believed him. I believed him. And I did it.
You hear
even
that?
though it almost killed me, I'm alive. And I'm alive because he did what he had to do.
Yeah.
Well, he was honest with you.
He was very honest with me, and very honest with my family when they'd ask questions, because everyone was nervous because I'd get there and I wouldn't say a word. It hurt. My bone hurt so bad I didn't walk for 3 months. So going around I was walking around about 165, 170. I was muscle. I was just a healthy female, and to drop down to 129 pounds, 132 pounds, it was just drastic. I looked sick. All the color was gone. I had to get blood transfusions quite often. I was sent several times because he kept telling me, he would never tell me, I think you're going to die. I think this is going to happen. He's just like, we need to get some more blood into you. We need to do this. We need to do that. And I was going to see him 4 times a week. He's only open 5 days a week. I was going 4 out of 5 days to see him every morning.
Well, he was fighting as hard as you were.
He really was. He really was.
I think
he was.
I think I thank Barman for that, but I think that that's what we all look for in a doctor.
Yeah,
we want someone that fights for our health the way that we do.
for you. Yeah.
And someone that I mentioned earlier that I know how thankful you are for Barman, but I think, too, as a cannabis community here in Oklahoma, we are. Because you're still here. Sure. You've helped, Sammy works with you, and, we know Sammy, and Sammy's spreading the good word, and, and how much this this helps people.
Yeah.
So none of that happens without a doctor not in the cannabis community.
Exactly.
Helping and believing in what we're doing and how you want to treat yourself and how you want to handle your body. And so I think we all can kind of say thank you to Dr. Barman. You know?
Yes, we all can. And I have friends who are in the medical industry and nurse practitioners and doctors who definitely believe in the health benefits of cannabis, whether it be from consuming it, orally eating it, smoking it, vaping it, in whatever way you take it. There's benefits to it. They'll tell me to take this over any pill any day because they know what the side effects of that pill is.
Sure.
And I'm happy to say that I have not had narcotics since I took my last narcotic in February 2019. When I woke up from, we call it a coma because I don't remember much of anything from December to February. I don't remember.
Right. That 4 months you were you were on RSO, right?
Oh, yes. I was on a lot of RSO, and I was on a lot of Dilaudid, not a lot, but I had the fentanyl patches on, and then I had in and out of the hospital because of the weight loss, and I wouldn't eat. I would not eat. I just couldn't because the cancer was just eating my stomach. So essentially what the first 4 treatments do is it takes every tumor, and I had over 100 tumors in my liver. I combined 140 between the 2 lungs, just what they could see in the CT scan. That was the original one in the hospital. When they did my PET scan, he couldn't even tell me how many tumors I had in my body. There were too many to count. He literally said, they're all going to double in size. And he goes, this is something you're really going to have to fight for. And I'm going to need you to eat. Like, there was a point, I remember, I'll never forget this. He looked at me and goes, I don't care if you take a Hawaiian bun and take a whole stick of butter and put it in there. I need you to eat. And I just looked at him and I said, okay, I'll eat. And I had to take more RSO and more RSO, and I actually have to thank Mr. Max, Chili Mac, and Eric, who worked for, he's part of Mr. Max as well. They donated a lot of the Rice Krispie treats to me. They were one of the first vendors I ever went through, and they donated a lot of the Rice Krispie treats to me to help me eat, and that actually really did help me to start my getting appetite back. And they continuously helped me all the time, and they were just the first people that came, and they were the nicest people. And there's been so many since then. It's crazy.
There's so many things about cannabis that benefit people, and I mean, but this is obviously more than just a benefit. I mean, this is a life.
Oh, for sure. I make RSO.
Right.
To this day, I make RSO when I'm home and I'm able to sit there and actually do it. I'll make RSO as much as I possibly. I mean, I make it for myself. Obviously, I have a processing license, and I used to be able to sell it in my store, not sell it because I have to say sell because the state of Oklahoma won't allow you to give anything away, so we do it for a penny.
Right.
And the penny came out of our tip jar. And I did that. I was able to keep that up for a good year. And then I had to start coming to Houston for alternative treatments, because Opdivo only lasts for 24 months. And come this December, my 24 months is up. I was told I would not go into remission and that live life, enjoy it. This was by my oncologist that I recently had and fired. He told me to literally, enjoy it, but this was all that I had. And so that's when I reached out to Dr. Barman again, and he told me I need to go to MD Anderson, and that's what I did. I contacted MD Anderson, and they said, you know what, we've got so much new. We have so many new clinical trials, so many new different things to happen. Like, we can target anything that we need to, and I see remission for you within the next 2 to 3 years. That's what I was told when I was, yeah. I smiled because I was told I was not going into remission.
Right. Well, I mean, who can guarantee that anyway? I mean,
exactly.
That's just reckless speaking.
Very much so
on their part.
And I commend you so much for taking it in stride and just smiling about it, because it is something that James and I are sitting here stewing every time we hear you talk about, basically the light being shut off for you and being told that there was no other options and just to give up. And, as I'm a parent, James is a parent, and, I know that you are. I mean, this is something that we tell our kids from day one, that quitting's not an option.
No, it's
not. And to get to where you got and to have someone just tell you to give up, thank you for not listening to them.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think back to so many people that probably did take their first piece of advice and go home and lay down and die.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
Right.
It's so sad. I don't brag on myself. I do not brag on myself. You can ask anyone that knows me.
We'll do that for you.
I will tell you, I am one of the strongest people that I know. I will tell you that. I am one of the strongest people that I do know.
Well, you seem very strong to me. I mean, just to be able to endure a quarter of what you've endured would take the strength that I do not. I do not think I don't know.
Right. And so as of today, where are we at with
when you're putting that? When you're put in that situation,
Sure.
I went from wheelchair to walker to a cane to walking with a limp, and now I walk straight without any assistance.
Yeah,
Good for you.
Reina, when you sent us over kind of a brief kind of layout of your story, and I looked over it. It was one of those things that the whole time smiling but fighting back tears the entire time, because as I read it, and even still as I talk to you today, it's that optimism in your voice is something that's very, very, it's very relieving. It's something, it's inspiring.
Thank you very much.
But what is something I've said about cannabis this whole time, and this show is based around cannabis and what we think about it, and that we do think that it is a medicine, and we believe that and we know that, and cannabis is one of those things I tell people all the time that sometimes we can judge it, sometimes we can gauge it, and we might know what it might be able to do, but what we can't gauge is the human spirit and what it can put up with. And again, that I want to thank you for proving me right again in that, because it is another one of those examples that I don't even think Dr. Barman knew what kind of a fighter he had on his hands when he walked in there after day 4. I think that he was probably trying to instill hope in you, and girl, you've got that in folds.
Hey, maybe you inspired them,
He in so many words, every time that he would get up and he would tell me, okay, go ahead and stand up. I want to, he literally, like I was a child learning how to walk again. He said, go ahead and stand up. And he left me in June of 2019. So he left me last June. And so I had him for 6 months. I had Dr. Barman for 6 months. And in those 6 months, Dr. Barman got me walking again. Dr. Barman he gave me hope. He gave me the reassurance that I needed. And he would literally tell me, hey, go ahead and stand up this time. I want to see how your leg's doing. And so I'd stand up. And he'd say, girl, you're going to get it. You're getting it. Look at you. And I'd have to swing my right leg because I couldn't walk straight. I couldn't walk straight at all. But to see him, he would look at me and say, he's like, look at your blood work. He's like, look at this. Look at your blood work. And just to see the pride in him and see how happy it made him, it made me feel reassured, and happy.
That's good.
Right, because it goes back to that thing that James said earlier, is knowing the power of his opinion. Yeah. Knowing the power of his position, and knowing that him just giving you a few words of inspiration, how far that might go someone with as much fight as you have in you.
I remember one moment whenever I was sick at one point, and my doctor looked at me in my eyes, and there was a look that he gave me, and he had a smile, and he said, it's okay, everything's gonna be okay, like that, like it was so
literally
strange.
I know that just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, but I remember that moment. I can literally see it in my mind, and that's how much power
It does.
It's their words have. I mean, they have to really, really watch what they say.
Well, and to me,
They
you know,
really do.
I kind of
and again, I mean, to that's got to be a hard position for them to be in.
Right.
I mean, you know, but
I think sometimes, and especially, you know, Reina, I think you're a perfect example of that. Sometimes a doctor is not only there for our physical health, but our mental health.
Oh, 1,000%.
They're like a coach and or a manager, and he has to understand the strengths in you and see where you need help being pushed and places where that you kind of have it yourself, and he knows that he doesn't need to help you. But that's what I love about what I hear about Dr. Barman is 90% of what I hear about him is not medical.
He literally, I mean, he's in a whole other state, has, you know, hundreds of patients he sees. And I made one phone call just to talk to him because I just reached out.
Right.
And he called me back and called me for a week straight, but I have my phone to where if it's like a number that I don't know, it won't answer it. So he was calling me from an unknown number and then calling me from another number, and my phone was not picking it up. It was like blocking the call. Mm-hmm. So he left me a voicemail, and he said, "Reina, this is Dr. Barman. I need you to answer the phone."
Yeah, he kept calling.
So I answered the phone. I finally answered the phone, and he's like, "Reina," he's like, "Get down to MD Anderson. I'm sending the referral. I'm doing what I need to do. But how are you? I need, you know." And we talked, and that's what got the ball rolling on what's going on now, and you know, my alternative, what I get to do now versus the Opdivo and Xgeva that I'm on now. Mm-hmm. I still do my edibles, my RSO, and my CBD THC tinctures. I do 1,500 milligram nanotechnology with I always do all my 1-to-1s, and then I love Blue's Clues. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, the strain Blue's Clues. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, and I use my 1-to-1, love it. It literally, I just love that tincture. It's my
power of that CBD. Tincture. People forget about it in the cannabis community. You got to have that other side of the plant.
Exactly, and a lot of people don't think that. They're just like, I need the highest THC percentage, and I also do own a dispensary. So when people walk in, they're like, I need the highest THC percent, and I'm just like, okay, I know what you're here for.
Yeah, I manage a
people
dispensary
that really want
too,
to be educated,
and we print out terp profiles as like prescriptions for people. And,
literally.
Yeah, and it's once you explain it to them that way, they're like, oh, so I do need to know what's in this, and you're like, now we're talking.
Maybe you don't want to smoke that cartridge that you keep puffing on and choking and wondering why you're continuously coughing and ending up in the hospital.
It's clear for a reason. It's because there's not much cannabis in it. I see,
but you know, listen. The thing is, we're sitting here laughing,
right?
And it is funny. It's funny as hell, but it's also there's a necessity.
Sure,
there's a need for education here. There's a huge
1,000%
need for education, and this is why,
right?
You know, because people do not understand what they're putting into their bodies.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to me, 788 for Reina, it encompasses it all. She was a mother who was driving to Colorado, risking freedom with her children to get a medicine. She also found out what unregulated medicine looks like.
Yeah.
She found out what a doctor who will accept cannabis and what one that won't accept cannabis.
Yes.
So, I mean,
there's different sides of the story for sure. But there's also that, and I mean, that's outstanding. Reina, I mean, I can't even say enough for what you've done and what you've done for the people and for other people that may need your inspiration in order to just seek out other help and just the ability to have the choice. We keep going back to that. I mean, it's so awesome to be able to have that choice in this state now.
Exactly, 1,000%. And I'm so happy that it is available, and I have no problem with showing anyone how to make RSO. It's simple, and I want people to be able to make their own medicine. I have to pay for it at a dispensary at the cost that it. I mean, literally, I've walked into a dispensary and cried looking at the price of RSO. When you can just, I mean, you need to buy certain things to do it, but it's not something that's not attainable. You totally can get everything you need to make the RSO yourself.
Absolutely. We've talked about it before. 788, the fact that we can grow and make our own medicine when we're making it for ourselves is the best part of 788. You'll never argue that point with me. You'll never be able to convince me otherwise. I love that. I love that for someone like you who's willing to teach someone to go home and take the guessing game out of it. If we, I'm the biggest skeptic in the world. So even that I work in a dispensary, I know that I get the labs with all of my products. I'm also a foodie. I'm also a guy who loves DIYing. So I love the fact that we can do that from home because one, it helps us understand our medicine.
Agreed.
And two, like I said, nothing's better than grandma's RSO. I mean, it's so much better than commercialized RSO.
It goes great with the biscuits.
Right.
And the pancakes.
Oh my goodness.
But Reina, like I said, I love that your story kind of encapsulates everything that 788 has kind of been for me and for the patients that I see every day. I love more than anything that, and this is something I see in the cannabis community and why I love my cannabis community, is it's not just your story. You take your story, and you want to share it. You want to help with it. You want good to come out of it.
1,000%.
And I love that. I mean, even that's why you wanted to open a dispensary. You basically you didn't want a mom or someone else to be in the same situation. It's that paying it forward that I see in the cannabis community. And maybe it's because we're young here, and maybe I'm a little jaded because I'm on the inside of it. But I don't see that in a lot of industries, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that grassroots feel to it, and you're keeping that alive. And so I hope, and I know you're a positive person, I hope you don't miss that in your day-to-day life. I hope that you know the change that you bring to people's lives. I seriously do. I hope that that you're doing what Barman did for you, for other people. I hope you recognize that.
Speaking of that, I mean, we have plenty of time. You have a dispensary. Can you think of one without a name, one special patient that sticks out in your mind that you've helped, and how? Quickly. 3, 2. I'm just kidding.
Call him by name?
No, you don't have to say a name.
Okay, call her by name, first and last name?
No, you don't have to call her by first or last name.
No name.
Okay.
Just an experience.
You want me to give you a number of people?
No.
I mean, there's several.
Tell me about how you helped them.
Just
a
patient.
Well, let me start off with just one. I had a lady that had come to me through a friend of mine who's a nurse practitioner, and we had to find, he has severe autism, and he is 19 years old. He was very, violent. And so what we did is my friend and I talked about different strains, because she's also a nurse practitioner, but she also knows her strains and knows her genetics very, very well. She grows as well, does her own personal growth. And so we're sitting there talking about, because she knows what medicines he's on, and I know what I can give him, in as far as different tinctures, because he can't smoke, and he can different edibles. So we're sitting here thinking about things, and we're going through genetics, and she's like, I think this would work best for him, and I think this would work best for him during the day, and this would work best for him during the night. So we wind up, I make a daytime and a nighttime RSO for this patient. His mother comes in, the mother ends up getting the medicine, and the mother comes in and tells me, this is the first time I've ever gone with my son to have pizza. It was 2 nights ago. It was after he'd had his medicine.
Wow.
It's what they do, because RSO tastes really bad. So they put it in a marshmallow, and he would say, I want my marshmallows. And he literally made, it's a story that was going around Instagram, and it's him showing, he's holding it up, and it says, I love my marshmallows. Thank you for my marshmallows. Because he doesn't know what exactly it is that he's taking.
Right.
But we got the right strains for him. The perfect strains for him. For the first time in his life, he was able to go out to eat with his mother and sit down and have dinner.
I love that you guys do that. I don't hear that enough. That's something that we do at the dispensary where I'm at. We'll sit down and do a consultation with someone. We'll terp hunt. We'll pheno hunt. It's something
that is what we do also, literally.
Enough in this state. And if you want to talk about medicine and all you're talking about is getting high, you're on the wrong side of the fence with me.
I'll walk away. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. I do go to dispensary, but when I have the bartenders, they're very educational as well. My daughter works at the store, and she's very, very educated in it. She's been around me her entire life, and she also has some epilepsy, and so I've also had to give her oils and do different things for her as well when she was younger. So she's very educated and knows all of what she needs to know. And when people come in, they're very surprised. They think she looks like she's like 14 years old, and she's 20, almost 21 years old. And it's just crazy. It's really, really crazy just to see. And they're just like, how did you have so much knowledge? She's like, well, my mom has 4-stage cancer, and we really care about the medicinal part of this,
Absolutely.
Not just getting high.
It's
not this highest THC percentage.
and two, on the other side of that, it's how you that shows how you raised your kid and what you showed her cannabis was.
Exactly.
Thank you. And maybe you were forced to, and that's neither here nor there, but you had those conversations. I've got some friends that have they call them red leaf conversations with their kids. And I love this. And their kids will literally bring them, all kids get into things that they're not supposed to. They go into mom or dad's bathroom and there's a tincture sitting up there. They will bring it to their parents and say, hey, mom, this is the red leaf. This is supposed to be up in the cabinet where I can't reach it. They will tell on their parents because their parents have had that talk that anything with a red leaf, just like a marker in the house, has to come to mom and dad first. And that's
awesome.
I love it. And it's insane because I've seen these kids do it. Hey, mom, you left your red leaf on your counter. I was in there grabbing my toothbrush, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be up in the cabinet.
That is
keeping their parents in check, and it goes with how it's talked about in the home. So many things, we all know this. Everything starts there.
Sure.
Everything. It's not just cannabis, but why are we not talking to our kids about it?
Yes.
And Reina, I'm someone like you in the dispensary. There's been times where I've made parents upset because I'm a huge believer in kids and minor patients having a CBD buffer, a huge CBD buffer when they're taking THC.
Oh, yes, 1,000%.
And I have had parents argue with me, and I'm like, I'm standing my ground here for your child. Right. This is not my opinion that I'm upset about. It's your child's brain development.
And we also want to point out, too, these are children that are needing the cannabis for medicine.
Absolutely.
And there's so many.
Right.
There's so many children that need it. It's
for listeners that aren't.
I mean, I'm sure you guys know. I mean, this state is full of children that are diagnosed with autism, ADHD, ADD, all these different things, and they just want to, let's give them this. Basically, a prescription of just amphetamines, and you can't do that. You just can't.
Not for
Adderall for everyone. It's not okay.
No.
It's not okay.
An addict, and you can put help on the front side of that all you want, but you're creating someone who will need that the rest of their life, and not just that, but will not function without it, and possibly not function with it.
Do you know what? This is going to be a weird analogy, okay? Sorry if I go there, but firefighters put out a fire, and they will do it by diverting the fire with fuel to make the fire go somewhere else.
Right.
True.
They're not putting the fire out essentially where the fire is. They're making it go to a place where it's easier to manage, and that's the way I look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. You're going to have to come back in 3 months for your prescription. You're going to come back. Some kids have to go monthly. If you need that prescription, you have to come back. So it's a revolving door. Money keeps going in their pockets. The insurance keeps getting billed. They keep paying.
Well,
and the parents are reliable on it because the teachers will say if they don't have their medicine, they can't come to school.
Sure.
And that's just ridiculous.
Well,
and
it creates a business model.
As far as cannabis, I mean, have you guys read the rules on some of the different school districts and how they're handling cannabis with minors that have their OMA cards?
Well, some of them are
crazy
just saying
and it's ridiculous.
Yes.
They say that a parent can go and pick up their child to medicate them during lunchtime, but they can't be on campus under the influence. So tell me how my child is supposed to go off campus to medicate, but he can't go back to school medicated.
We know plenty of children under the age of 18 or whatever, they're juveniles, and they're patients, and they cannot function without this medicine. They have seizures, people. Audience that are not aware, and some of these medicines have literally been the only thing that have calmed them down enough to be able to learn, to be not regular. Who wants to be regular?
Nobody. That's boring. It's boring.
To be functional and have fun and be able to enjoy life and do things for themselves and aspire to be, what they want to be when they grow up and think, just
to have the same opportunities as someone next to them. Absolutely. Right. And that's the thing is with cannabis, a lot of these kids, they do. They do become to where they're going to school for 4 or 5 hours a day when they were only being able to handle it for 1 or 2 hours before mom or dad was called. So
exactly, the sensory overload. I mean, I see it in all ages of children. I mean, I've worked with children, adolescents.
Well,
before I went into the cannabis industry for years, over a decade.
Sure, and not just that, but as a parent, I'm telling you that I'm working on a solution, but yet you don't want to hear it because of the stigma that you've listened to since the last 40 years. And I mean, I get that, that's neither here nor there. But my thing is I'm just done with the counterintuitive thinking. If you want my kid in there, which as a teacher you should, and I'm telling you that I have found a solution for this, then why are we not moving forward with my child's education, which is what your responsibility is?
Yeah, I had that happen to my son. Actually went to the board of education and talked with them, and the director called me and said that it didn't matter. My appeal was denied, even though my son has ADD. He was diagnosed with ADHD, and I give him THC with CBD as a medicine to make him focus so that he can work on his Chromebook when he's at school. Did not matter. The lady said that he was on an immediate suspension, had to be picked up immediately. And the truth of the matter was, I was told by the director she was not supposed to have said that. He could have stayed there on in-campus suspension and could have done they suspended him for 5 days. Without it, I mean, what good does that do to a kid? Seriously, he was 17 years old. What good is that going to do to him? Sending him home for 5 days, you're just going to get behind. And that's exactly what I told them. And she's like, she had no right to even suspend him and send him home. So when I called them, and I'm like, could you? And I specifically told him, could you please educate your staff and your entire faculty on how this works? Because you're all obviously not on the same page. None of you are. You're sitting here telling me that my son's high. He was extremely tired. I know when my son's high. I would tell you if he was high. He was not high. I know my son. I have no reason to lie. And I wouldn't take up for him because I haven't taken up for him in the past. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't, He stays a 17-year-old boy. Yeah. And, he does what he does, and it is what it is. But when it's right, it's right, and when it's wrong, it's wrong. Right. And I call a spade, and I did. And I had it out with Broken Arrow School District, and they won. They won.
They won?
They won, yeah, but they suspended my son. They did.
And so...
what did they get out of that?
They're supposed to be... He said that because it was so new... They were going to be educated over the summer, but we all know coronavirus came. So, yeah, about that.
I love that. I do find it a little odd that your son's health could wait, but the education in an educational facility needed to wait over the summer.
Agreed. I agree.
I mean, my thing is for our children, we're supposed to be able to adapt. Yeah. But neither. So was that his senior year?
His junior year. This is his senior year.
Gotcha.
And he's doing it virtually, obviously, because, 33 of the teachers and faculty members tested positive for COVID-19.
So
he pushed it back.
The whole school system is virtual, correct?
As of right now, yes. I have been seeing some kids go to school, though, so there are some kids that are actually going to school.
So, since it is virtual, is he able to medicate while he's at school?
He does. He works full time. He works full time, and he is
good.
He's actually making me a grandmother. I am expecting my first grandchild in October.
Congrats.
My youngest is getting married at the age of 18, and he'll be turning 18 in November, and they're having their first child in October. Awesome. So he went down the same path that his father and I went down.
So you've gone from being told by a white-coated person with a little bit of power to find God to about to be a grandmother. That's pretty awesome.
That's why I smile. I'm cheesing right now speaking to you guys because it's just, I was told that I was going to die. I was told out in January 2019 I was going to die 3 different nights.
Yeah.
While I was in the hospital. Yeah. And I didn't find this out until February.
You know what?
I woke up from that coma.
I sure am glad you didn't.
So am I. I can echo that.
So am I.
I think Sammy and all of your patients, and like I said, the cannabis community can.
Or anybody that you meet from what I hear.
I truly thank you guys. I truly do. I don't do it for recognition. I do it because that's just who I am.
Absolutely.
That's who I am, and that's who I always will be. And I've been hurt. I've been betrayed in this community. There's a lot of things that have happened, which we all know. That's in any community, any type of industry that you're in. Things like that happen.
Absolutely.
But it shouldn't change you. If that's who you are as a person, then that shouldn't change you and affect you.
And that's your drive.
You learn.
And that's what you wanted to do, and nothing stopped you.
Nope, nothing.
And again, thank you for being a cannabis advocate. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you again to Dr. Barman. Thank you guys so much for doing what you're doing because it helps break those stigmas. It's gonna, and I know your son doesn't look at it like this, and maybe that you don't, but being those people that didn't shy away from the issue and stood your ground on things like with your son and the way you were with your doctor, I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it makes a difference now, but it is. I promise. And thank you guys so much for standing your ground.
Thank you.
For something that's helping all of us.
Thank you so much for caring. I truly appreciate it. I know the patients appreciate it. And seriously, if there's anything that I could ever help with, anybody, I own One Love Wellness. Give me a call. My name is Reina. If I'm not there, leave me a message and I'll call you back.
Please do, Reina. I promise you, she has your best interest at heart. I can tell you that just from the little bit that I know her. Absolutely.
Reina, thank you so much for joining us, and to our listeners,
I truly appreciate you all so much. Seriously, you made me feel very comfortable. I truly appreciate you guys for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And I hope it helps other people. I really do. And if anyone ever has any questions about anything dealing with cancer, pain, feeling lost, feeling alone, feeling like you're not going to make it, reach out to me. I have social media. My name on Instagram is Reina_One Love Wellness. I'm on Facebook as Reina Ceballos. Reach out to me. I'll talk. I like to talk.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to come up there and meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either. I can't wait to meet you guys. Seriously. Come up anytime.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
We'll definitely do it.
For sure. And to our listeners,
appreciate you.
Hey guys, if you feel that this podcast is something that would benefit others, please consider the possibility of changing someone's life that may be in need. Please share our podcast. This podcast is for the patient. This podcast is for information purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Happy birthday to my brother, James.
Happy birthday, James.